The holographic display at Global Defense Command illuminated the entire chamber in an eerie crimson glow. Director Sarah Chen stood motionless, her eyes fixed on the massive fleet approaching Earth's outer defense perimeter. 30 years of preparing for this moment, and still the sight of 10,000 alien warships struck her with awe and dread in equal measure. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez reported, his fingers dancing across the quantum interface. Similar message to all major population centers. The alien transmission materialized in the center of the command floor. A tall, crystalline being stood proudly, its translucent form pulsing with internal light. People of Earth, I am Supreme Commander Azix of the Helios Collective. Your world lies within our designated expansion zone. Submit to integration, or face immediate eradication. You have one planetary rotation to decide. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The collective's arrogance was exactly what they had counted on. Send the prepared response, she ordered, her voice steady despite the weight of humanity's future resting on her next words. Are you certain, Director? General Wong asked from his station. Once we commit, they gave us exactly what we needed. Time to prepare, Sarah replied. 30 years ago, when our quantum telescopes first detected their expansion pattern, everyone said we were paranoid. When we diverted 60% of global resources into Project Aegis, they called us fanatics. The room fell silent as the transmission began. Sarah's recorded message played across every communication channel, her words carefully chosen. Helios Collective, we have received your terms. Humanity's response is this. No. The crystalline being's form flickered with apparent confusion. You dare refuse. Our fleet has conquered 1,000 worlds. Your primitive defenses cannot. Your fleet, Sarah interrupted, follows the same tactical doctrine it has used for the past 3 centuries. We've studied every battle, every conquest. Your strength is also your weakness, Commander Azix. You never evolved, never adapted, because you never needed to, until now. Across the solar system, hidden installations hummed to life. Quantum sensors detected the collective fleet's formation spreading out exactly as predicted, following their ancient battle protocols to the letter. All stations, execute Operation Starkiller, Sarah commanded. Throughout the command center, officers relay the order to facilities hidden in the asteroid belt, beneath the lunar surface, and in the clouds of Venus. The collective ships moved into their standard attack pattern, a beautiful and deadly dance they had performed countless times. Supreme Commander Azix's voice boomed through the command center again. Your defiance is noted. Let your species' extinction serve as a lesson to. The alien transmission cut off abruptly as the first phase of humanity's defense grid activated. Quantum fields, developed through decades of research, rippled through space. The collective's perfect formation began to waver as their ship's navigational systems encountered phenomena they had never been programmed to handle. Multiple targets experiencing critical system failures, Rodriguez reported, excitement creeping into his professional tone. Their unified command network is fragmenting exactly as simulated. Sarah watched as the mighty Helios fleet, terror of 1,000 worlds, began to realize that humanity was not the primitive civilization they had expected to find. Decades of preparation, of studying their every move, of developing countermeasures to their supposedly invincible technology, were about to pay off. Launch the Artemis squadrons, she ordered. Across Earth's hemisphere, electromagnetic launchers powered up. But these weren't the primitive rockets the collective's intelligence had reported. Each launcher held a quantum-linked fighter, capable of manipulating space-time itself. The first wave of human ships emerged from their hidden bases, their designs unlike anything the collective had encountered in their long history of conquest. They moved in unpredictable patterns, their quantum drives allowing them to appear almost simultaneously at multiple points in space. They're trying to regroup, General Wong announced, studying the tactical display. Shifting to their secondary attack formation. Exactly as expected, Sarah nodded. Execute Phase 2. Let's show them why you don't underestimate humanity. The battle for Earth was about to begin, and for the first time in their history, the Helios Collective was about to learn what it meant to fight an enemy who had turned their own predictability against them. As Sarah watched humanity's counterattack unfold, she couldn't help but think that sometimes the greatest weapon wasn't overwhelming force. It was the power of preparation, innovation, and the indomitable human spirit. Deep within the Himalayan Quantum Research Facility, Dr. Maya Patel watched as decades of theoretical work transformed into devastating reality. The massive holographic display showed hundreds of Helios ships struggling against invisible forces that defied their ancient combat protocols. Status report on the quantum interference grid. She called out to her team of scientists and engineers who had dedicated their lives to Project Aegis. Dr. James Chen, her longtime colleague, responded without taking his eyes off the stream of data flowing across his station. The grid is performing beyond our highest projections. Their ship's neural crystal processors can't adapt to the quantum fluctuations. They're literally fighting their own programming. Maya allowed herself a moment of pride. Humanity had done more than just prepare for this invasion. They had revolutionized their understanding of physics itself. The quantum interference grid was based on their study of black hole event horizons, creating localized areas where the laws of space-time became malleable. New transmission from the collective flagship, announced Lieutenant Sarah Hayes, her hand steady at the communications array. They're demanding to know how we're interfering with their navigation systems. The face of Supreme Commander Azix appeared again, but this time the crystalline being's usual confidence had been replaced by something approaching concern. What sorcery is this? Our sensors detect no conventional weapons, yet our ships cannot maintain formation. Maya stepped forward, her voice clear and steady. This is Dr. Maya Patel of Earth's Quantum Defense Initiative. What you're experiencing isn't sorcery, Commander. It's simply science you never needed to discover. Complacency is a dangerous thing. Across the solar system, humanity's hidden strength continued to unfold. In the Kuiper Belt, automated facilities that had been disguised as research stations revealed their true nature. Quantum-linked defensive platforms, developed using principles derived from studying neutron stars, began generating gravitational lenses that bent weapons fire back upon the Helios fleet. They're attempting to adapt, Dr. Chen reported, his fingers flying across holographic controls, shifting power to their secondary crystal matrices. Classic Helios response: when standard protocols fail, increase power output. Maya nodded. Just as we predicted. Initiate Phase 2 of the quantum grid. Let's show them why that strategy won't work here. The facility hummed with increased power as new systems came online. These weren't the crude energy weapons the collective had expected to face. Instead, humanity had developed technology that turned the enemy's own power against them. The more energy their ships pumped into their systems, the more vulnerable they became to Earth's quantum manipulations. Multiple Helios vessels experiencing critical system failures, Hayes announced, her voice tight with controlled excitement. Their power crystals are destabilizing under the quantum interference. On the main display, Maya watched as dozens of the supposedly invincible Helios warships began to drift, their crystal-based technology proving to be their greatest weakness against humanity's innovative defenses. The collective had relied on the same technological foundation for millennia, never imagining that a primitive species might find ways to exploit its fundamental flaws. Director Chen is requesting an update on the neural disruption protocols, Hayes reported. The collective is trying to establish a unified command network. Tell Sarah we're ready, Maya responded, entering final commands into her console. The neural disruptors are calibrated specifically to their crystalline communication frequencies. The more they try to coordinate, the more confused their command structure will become. In space, the mighty Helios fleet continued to struggle against forces they couldn't understand. Their rigid tactical doctrine, unchanged for centuries, had no protocols for dealing with an enemy who could manipulate the fabric of reality itself. Ships that tried to maintain their precise formations found themselves fighting against quantum eddies that ignored their advanced propulsion systems. Dr. Patel, Commander Asics's voice crackled through the command channel again. Your species was supposed to be primitive, barely capable of interplanetary travel. How is this possible? Maya allowed herself a small smile as she responded. Commander, humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our drive to survive, to adapt, to overcome. When we detected your fleet's approach 30 years ago, we didn't panic. We prepared. We studied. We innovated. Every protocol in your tactical database, every weakness in your crystal technology, every flaw in your rigid command structure, we found them all. The quantum interference grid pulsed again, and another wave of Helios ships fell into disarray. Humanity's greatest gambit was working. They had turned their apparent weakness, their technological inferiority, into their greatest strength. While the collective had stagnated, humanity had evolved, developing entirely new branches of science, specifically to counter an enemy that thought itself invincible. All stations, Maya commanded, prepare for full deployment of the quantum defense network. Let's show the collective why humanity never should have been underestimated. Admiral Elena Torres stood on the bridge of the EDS Hyperion, humanity's first quantum drive battleship, watching as the vast fleet of the Helios Collective struggled against Earth's defenses. Hidden in the shadow of Mars, her strike force waited for the perfect moment to reveal humanity's most devastating innovation. All ships report ready, Admiral. Captain David Okonjo announced from his tactical station. Quantum synchronization at optimal levels. Elena surveyed the holographic battle display, where thousands of red dots representing Helios vessels flickered and shifted as they fought against the invisible forces disrupting their formations. The mighty alien armada that had expected an easy conquest was instead facing an enemy that had spent decades preparing specifically for them. Begin Operation Checkmate, Elena commanded. All ships, execute quantum jump protocols. The Hyperion and its escort fleet vanished from their hiding spot near Mars, their quantum drives allowing them to exist in multiple probable locations simultaneously. The technology, developed by studying quantum entanglement on a massive scale, was humanity's answer to the collective's superior numbers. They reappeared in the midst of the Helios fleet, but not as single targets. Each human vessel manifested as multiple quantum echoes, each one as solid and capable of dealing damage as the original. The collective's targeting systems, designed to track conventional ships, couldn't determine which versions were real and which were quantum duplicates. Multiple Helios vessels opening fire, Okonjo reported calmly. Their weapons are targeting our quantum echoes, exactly as predicted. Elena allowed herself a grim smile. Launch the Nemesis drones. From the holds of the human ships, thousands of small, autonomous craft emerged. Unlike traditional drones, these were equipped with quantum probability engines. They didn't just evade enemy fire. They calculated where shots wouldn't be, existing in the spaces between the collective's targeting solutions. Supreme Commander Asics's voice boomed across all frequencies, his crystalline form's internal light pulsing with what Elena recognized as fear. This defies all known laws of physics. Your species cannot possess such technology. You're right, Commander. Elena responded as her fleet continued its assault. We didn't possess it. We created it. While you relied on your ancient crystal tech, we looked to the quantum realm itself for answers. The Nemesis drones proved devastatingly effective. They phased through the collective's energy shields, their quantum states allowing them to exist momentarily in the spaces between conventional matter. When they reformed inside enemy ships, their explosive payloads wreaked havoc on the crystalline control systems. Admiral, Okonjo called out, the enemy fleet is attempting to regroup. They're falling back to formation pattern Delta 7. Elena nodded. Just as Dr. Patel predicted. Their tactical database is running out of options. Initiate Phase 2 of the attack. Show them what happens when you corner humanity. The quantum echoes of the human fleet suddenly shifted, each one becoming a focal point for a carefully calculated distortion in spacetime. The Helios ships found themselves caught in a complex web of gravitational forces, their rigid formation protocols working against them as they tried to maintain their predetermined positions. Enemy vessels experiencing critical systems failure. Lieutenant Sarah Chen reported from her station. Their crystal matrices can't handle the quantum stress. We're seeing cascading failures across their command and control networks. The battle continued to unfold across the solar system, but it was no longer the one-sided conquest the collective had expected. Humanity's quantum technology, developed in secret over 3 decades, was systematically dismantling the most powerful fleet in known space. Remarkable, came a new voice over the command channel. Belina recognized Admiral Zentera, one of the collective's most decorated commanders. In all my centuries of warfare, I've never seen anything like this. How did you develop such capabilities in secret? We had a good teacher, Admiral. Elena replied as she watched another wave of Helios ships fall into disarray. Fear of extinction is a powerful motivator. It drove us to look beyond conventional physics, to find ways to turn your strengths into weaknesses. The quantum echoes of the human fleet continued their dance through the enemy formation, each movement calculated to cause maximum disruption to the collective's battle plans. The Nemesis drones struck with surgical precision, targeting command and control nodes that had been identified through decades of studying the enemy's tactical protocols. They're trying to establish a new command frequency, Okonjo reported, attempting to coordinate what's left of their fleet. Elena watched as the mighty Helios collective, terror of 1,000 worlds, began to realize that they had severely underestimated their opponent. Humanity hadn't just prepared for this battle. They had revolutionized their understanding of physics itself to ensure victory. All ships, she commanded, prepare for final attack phase. Let's show the galaxy why you should never corner a species that thrives on innovation. The vast holographic display in Global Defense Command displayed a sight unprecedented in galactic history. The mighty Helios collective, conquerors of 1,000 worlds, was in complete disarray. Director Sarah Chen watched alongside Dr. Maya Patel as humanity's quantum warfare tactics shattered the enemy's millennia-old battle doctrine. Multiple Helios command ships attempting emergency quantum jumps, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, his voice steady despite the historic moment unfolding before them. Their crystal matrices are failing under the strain of our interference patterns. The enemy fleet's perfect geometric formations, maintained for centuries of conquest, had devolved into chaos. Human quantum ships appeared and disappeared across the battlefield, their probability drives making a mockery of traditional space combat tactics. Each time the collective adapted to one threat, 3 more appeared in its place. Supreme Commander Azix's transmission cut through the command center, his crystalline form flickering with barely contained rage. This is impossible. Your species was studying basic rocket propulsion just decades ago. These tactics, this technology, it violates everything we know about warfare. That was your first mistake, Commander, Sarah responded, her voice calm. You assumed we would fight the way you fight. Instead, we created entirely new ways of waging war, specifically designed to counter your strengths. Across the solar system, humanity's trap continued to tighten. The quantum interference grid, powered by facilities hidden throughout the asteroid belt, created zones of probabilistic chaos that the collective's ships couldn't navigate. Their rigid programming, designed for traditional space combat, had no protocols for dealing with areas where the laws of physics themselves seemed to break down. Admiral Torres reports the Nemesis drones have achieved 70% penetration of enemy formations, Dr. Patil announced, studying the quantum tactical displays. Their crystal-based shields can't adapt to our phase shift technology fast enough. Sarah watched as another cluster of Helios warships fell into disarray, their crews unable to cope with combat conditions that defied their training and experience. The collective had spent millennia perfecting their military doctrine, but they had never faced an enemy who could manipulate probability itself. New transmission from the Helios Command Network, Rodriguez called out. They're requesting a ceasefire. The command center fell silent. In all recorded history, the Helios Collective had never retreated, never surrendered, never shown weakness. Their absolute confidence in their technological superiority had been their defining characteristic, and their fatal flaw. Admiral Zentera's voice filled the command center, the usual arrogance of the Collective's military leadership replaced by something approaching respect. Director Chen, Dr. Patel, your species has achieved something unprecedented. We offer immediate cessation of hostilities. Sarah exchanged glances with Maya before responding. Your terms, Admiral. The Collective withdraws all claims to Earth and its solar system. We request technological exchange talks. Your quantum warfare capabilities have rendered our traditional combat doctrine obsolete. The implications were staggering. The Helios Collective, which had conquered its way across the galaxy through overwhelming force, was now seeking to learn from a species they had dismissed as primitive just hours ago. Admiral Torres, Sarah called through the quantum comm network. Status of the enemy fleet. Alina's voice came back clear and confident. Their command and control structure is completely compromised. The quantum interference grid has reduced their effective combat capability by approximately 80%. They couldn't continue the fight even if they wanted to. Sarah turned to Maya, who nodded slowly. The quantum grid readings confirm it. Their crystal technology can't handle prolonged exposure to our probability fields. Their entire fleet would suffer catastrophic systems failure within the next hour if they tried to continue fighting. Looking at the tactical display, Sarah could see the truth of it. A mighty Helios fleet, which had arrived in perfect formation, ready to announce humanity's extinction, now drifted in disorganized clusters. Their ancient battle protocols, unchanged for centuries, had been rendered worse than useless by humanity's quantum warfare tactics. Supreme Commander ASICS, Sarah broadcast across all channels. Humanity accepts your ceasefire. But understand this. We developed these technologies because you gave us no choice. We knew you were coming, knew what you had done to other civilizations. Remember that before you consider breaking this agreement. The crystalline commander's form appeared one final time, but the usual contempt was gone from his bearing. Director Chen, you have taught the Collective something we had forgotten over our millennia of easy victories. Perhaps it is time for us to remember how to learn again. As the remains of the Helios fleet began their withdrawal, Sarah turned to her command staff. Send word to all Earth defense stations. The immediate threat is over, but our work is just beginning. The galaxy now knows humanity exists, and that we're not to be underestimated. 1 month after the Battle of Earth, the Global Defense Command Center hosted an unprecedented gathering. Director Sarah Chen stood before representatives from 30 different alien civilizations, all drawn to Earth by news of humanity's victory over the seemingly invincible Helios Collective. The holographic displays that had once shown battle formations now displayed diplomatic credentials and trade proposals. Dr. Maya Patel sat beside Sarah, still amazed by how quickly the galaxy's political landscape had shifted. The defeat of the Collective's fleet has created a power vacuum. Ambassador Xylith of the Centauri Alliance explained, their bioluminescent form pulsing with excitement. For millennia, their crystal technology and rigid military doctrine dominated galactic politics. Now, every civilization is reassessing its position. Sarah studied the assembled delegates. Some represented worlds that had suffered under collective rule for generations. Others came from independent systems that had lived in fear of eventual Helios expansion. All of them wanted to understand how humanity had accomplished the impossible. We've received 7 formal requests for military alliances, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported quietly, and 12 proposals for technological exchange programs. Supreme Commander ASICS himself had returned to Earth, not as a conqueror, but as a diplomatic envoy. His crystalline form stood apart from the other delegates, humbled but still proud. The Collective's Council of Elders has approved unprecedented concessions, We offer unrestricted access to our star charts, our technological database, our trade networks. In exchange for quantum warfare technology, Sarah finished for him. But that's not something we're prepared to share. Not yet. Maya stepped forward, addressing the assembled diplomats. What humanity developed wasn't just technology. It was a completely new way of thinking about physics, about warfare, about adaptation itself. We didn't just build better weapons, we revolutionized our understanding of reality. Admiral Elena Torres, now promoted to fleet commander, joined them via quantum link from the EDS Hyperion. Our victory wasn't about superior firepower. It was about innovation, about turning perceived weakness into strength. The collective failed not because their technology was inferior, but because they had stopped evolving. The implications weren't lost on the gathered representatives. Humanity hadn't just defeated the galaxy's strongest military force. They had demonstrated the power of adaptation and innovation over stagnant superiority. Earth is open to diplomatic and trade relations with all peaceful civilizations, Sarah announced. But understand this, we developed our quantum technology because we had to survive. Any attempt to force our hand will be met with the same determination that defeated the collective. The assembly hall buzzed with discussion. Civilizations that had existed in the shadow of Helios dominance for centuries now saw a new path forward. Earth, the planet that had seemed destined for conquest, had instead become a symbol of resistance and innovation. Director Chen, Admiral Zentera of the collective, spoke up. Our analysts are still trying to understand how your species achieved so much in mere decades. The technological leap from primitive rockets to quantum warfare is unprecedented. Sarah smiled. That's because you're thinking like the collective, Admiral. You see technological progress as a linear path. Humanity took a different approach. When we detected your fleet 30 years ago, we didn't try to catch up to your level of technology. Instead, we looked for ways to make your advantages irrelevant. The gathered diplomats watched as holographic displays showed the full extent of Earth's quantum defense network. Hidden facilities throughout the solar system, advanced research centers buried beneath ocean floors, automated manufacturing plants in the asteroid belt, all developed in secret while the galaxy thought Earth was barely achieving spaceflight. We offer partnership. Maya addressed the assembly, not submission. Earth stands ready to help forge a new era of galactic cooperation, but we will never again allow any power to threaten our existence. As the diplomatic summit continued, Sarah received a private message from the quantum research facility. The next generation of probability drives was already showing promising results. Humanity's victory hadn't led to complacency. If anything, it had only intensified their drive to innovate. The galaxy is changing. Elena's quantum projection observed. The age of crystal technology and rigid doctrine is over. The species that adapt, that innovate, that dare to think differently, they're the ones who will shape the future. Sarah looked out over the assembled delegates, representatives of civilizations that spanned the stars. Humanity had emerged from its isolation not as another conquered world, but as a force that had rewritten the rules of galactic power. We did more than win a battle, she replied. We proved that the path to the future isn't about maintaining superiority. It's about never stopping to learn, to adapt, to evolve. That's humanity's real gift to the galaxy. As the summit drew to a close, the message was clear. The galaxy would never be the same. The species that had been dismissed as primitive had shown that true strength lay not in overwhelming force, but in the power to imagine and create new possibilities. The age of the Helios Collective was over. The age of innovation had begun.